His music, his generosity, and his humanity will outlive not only us, but our children and their children.
Tricia Lucus, Toby Keith's wife, finally confirmed the rumors that spread about the country music star's health after he was diagnosed with stomach cancer in the fall of 2021. She remained devoted to him throughout his battle with illness until he passed away at age 62 on February 5th, 2024. After all the speculating, Tricia Lucus herself has finally broken her silence. So, before you even think about clicking off or scrolling away, I'm just warning you. You should stick around, because what Trisha just confirmed not only changes the story about Toby Keith in a whole new way. The early rumors about Toby Keith's health. In early 2022, fans had already started feeling a little uneasy because Toby Keith wasn't showing up at events as much as he used to. When he did appear, it wasn't like the usual Toby Keith we all knew. He seemed quieter, more reserved, and, well, just not his usual lively self. It was almost like he was trying to hide something, and you know how rumors start flying when that happens, right? But here's the thing. Nobody knew what was really going on with him at the time. In reality, Keith had been battling stomach cancer for several months, though he kept it all under wraps. This was a huge part of why he seemed off. He had been undergoing treatment, but he chose to keep it all private. So, of course, his fans, who are always so in tune with him, began to wonder what was up. Why wasn't he showing up at the big country music events? Why wasn't he as energetic? It was only when the rumors started swirling and things got worse that he finally opened up. So, while Toby Keith was quietly going through chemotherapy, radiation, and even surgery, he wasn't telling anyone. You ever wonder what really goes on behind closed doors with country stars like Toby Keith? Well, you're not the only one. For years, fans have been whispering about some wild rumors swirling around Toby's life. And now, for the first time ever, his own wife is stepping forward and setting the record straight. But is the truth better or worse than the gossip? Grab a seat and hang tight, because what she reveals might just change everything you thought you knew about Toby Keith. And trust me, the biggest bombshell doesn't drop until the very end. So you won't want to miss a single second. The speculation ran wild though, didn't it? Fans were talking on social media, wondering if he was okay. Some folks in the industry even started gossiping. It was about 6 months before Keith finally made the public announcement. And by then, the rumors had hit a peak. He was done keeping it all in. And on June 12th, 2022, he took to his social media and shared the news himself. Straightforward and to the point, he said, "Last fall, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. I've spent the last 6 months receiving chemo, radiation, and surgery." That right there shocked the country music world and his fans. It's one thing to hear the rumors, but to hear it from him directly, man, that hit hard. Everyone was just flooded with support and concern. People were dropping comments, asking how he was doing and if he was going to make it through. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to know more about stomach cancer after hearing something like that? The way he handled it, though, so calmly and with so much grace, made people even more proud to be his fan. The country music community really rallied around him, too. Other artists who had heard whispers about his condition but respected his privacy began sharing words of encouragement. It was such a beautiful moment because, in this industry, you can never be too sure about the kind of support you'll get. But Toby Keith had been a solid figure in country music for decades, and it showed in how everyone came together for him. What's even more amazing is that he didn't just announce his diagnosis and leave it at that. No, he kept it real. He let everyone know that he was still fighting and that so far, he was doing okay. He ended his message with a hopeful note saying, "So far, so good. I need time to breathe, recover, and relax. I am looking forward to spending this time with my family, but I will see the fans sooner than later. I can't wait." That right there, so powerful. It wasn't just an announcement. It was him reassuring his fans that he was taking care of himself and that he wasn't giving up on the people who loved him. Tricia Lucus's silent strength during the early days. When rumors about Toby's health started swirling around, and trust me, they swirled like crazy, Tricia Lucus, Toby Keith's wife, didn't do what most people would expect. No long social media posts, no tell-all interviews, no dramatic public appearances. She just stayed silent, choosing her husband over the headlines every single time. Honestly, the way Trisha handled everything could teach a masterclass on grace and privacy. The entertainment world, it's basically built on digging into people's personal lives. It's like the more personal, the better for them. Yet somehow, Trisha managed to wrap a thick, invisible blanket around her family and just said, "No, not letting you in." Even as the questions about Toby's health got louder, even as the cameras zoomed in, she held that line strong. She had always been that way too, always preferring the background, letting Toby shine while she made sure their real life stayed safe and untouched by all the noise. And let me tell you, her commitment to privacy didn't stop just when Toby passed. No way. After his death, when most people would have been too overwhelmed with grief to fight for anything, Trisha was right there making sure the family stayed protected. She actually asked the court to seal Toby's will. She said that their family had faced constant threats to their safety and security for years. Can you imagine living like that? Having to worry about crazy people showing up at your home because of your husband's fame? So, she fought to keep their address private. She fought to use different names for her and the kids. She did everything she could to shield them. And honestly, wouldn't you do the exact same thing if you were in her shoes? In one of the court filings, Trisha made it super clear that making Toby's estate public would just open the floodgates for even more harassment, more privacy invasions, more threats. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. Her lawyer even came out and basically said, "Look, this isn't about hiding anything shady. This is about keeping a grieving family safe." And the more you think about it, the more you realize that privacy for Trisha wasn't just some cute little wish. It was about survival, about keeping herself, her kids, her grandkids, all of them, safe from a world that sometimes gets way too obsessed with celebrities and forgets they're actual human beings. She also poured her heart into causes that mattered to both her and Toby. She wasn't just chilling at home, she was out there working as the vice president of the Toby Keith Foundation, helping kids with cancer, taking all that private strength and spreading it to families who desperately needed some hope. Their foundation's motto was about easing stress for families, comforting sick children, and encouraging siblings. And isn't it wild how closely that mirrors how Trisha handled her own life? Always lifting the load for others, always choosing comfort and care over drama and noise. At the end of the day, Tricia Lucus wasn't just the woman behind Toby Keith. She was the quiet force that made so much of his success and happiness possible. She was his anchor, his protector, his nurse, his realist, his biggest fan, and she did it all without needing a single headline to validate her. Isn't that something truly rare and beautiful in a world that's constantly screaming for attention? If you ask me, Trisha wasn't just part of Toby's story. She was the heart of it, and she always will be. You think you know Toby Keith? Think again. All those rumors you heard over the years, some good, some not so good, are finally getting answered by the one person who would know the whole truth. His wife. Why did she wait so long to finally talk? What exactly is she admitting to? And is there a twist no one saw coming? You're about to find out, but let me warn you, the biggest reveal doesn't come until the final moments. So make sure you stick around, because this is one story you'll want to hear straight through to the end. Toby Keith's public announcement and its impact. It was in June 2022 when everything finally came out. After months of fans wondering, whispering, noticing he wasn't showing up to things as often, Toby just laid it all out there. No drama, no long build-up, no magazine cover exclusive or anything like that. Just a simple, straight-to-the-point post on social media. He said, "Last fall, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. I've spent the last 6 months receiving chemo, radiation, and surgery. So far, so good. I need time to breathe, recover, and relax. Like, how humble and strong can one person be?" He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't make it sound worse than it was, but he also didn't pretend it was no big deal either. He just told it exactly like it was. And honestly, isn't that just so, Toby? And he had been dealing with all of this since the fall of 2021, meaning for almost a full year before any of us even knew what was going on. He made the choice to go through the hardest, scariest parts of it all without the world poking their noses in. Can you imagine being in his shoes, knowing you're fighting for your life, but also wanting to protect your family's peace and your own sanity? Like, seriously, how many people today can keep anything private, let alone something that massive? But Toby being Toby, he didn't just leave fans sitting there in sadness. Even in that same message, he hit us with that trademark Keith optimism. He said he was looking forward to spending time with his family, but, and I love this part, he promised to see his fans sooner than later. He said, "I can't wait." And you could just feel the hope in his words, you know? Like he really, truly believed he was gonna beat it and get back out there doing what he loved most. And the thing is, when he finally came out with his diagnosis, it wasn't just about him anymore. Suddenly, a lot of people started learning about stomach cancer, which, by the way, only makes up about 1.5% of new cancer cases every year in the US. It's one of those sneaky cancers, you know? The symptoms are so easy to mistake for just everyday stomach issues. Like, who hasn't had indigestion or a stomach ache and brushed it off? It's scary when you think about how easily it can fly under the radar. There's no standard test for it either. No easy regular screening like there is for breast cancer or colon cancer. Doctors only tend to find it when it's already pretty advanced, which is just so unfair. After Toby shared his news, there was this wave of understanding. Like suddenly, all those canceled shows, all those times he wasn't showing up to events, it all made heartbreaking sense. Fans weren't mad anymore or wondering what was wrong. They were just heartbroken for him. And isn't it crazy how, sometimes, when you finally know the truth, it hits you even harder than all the guesses and worries ever could? But even while he was fighting for his life, Toby still kept that classic Toby Keith spirit alive. He gave little updates here and there, just enough to let us know how he was doing, but never in a way that made you feel like he was looking for pity. Like in June 2023, a whole year after he first told us, he talked to the Oklahoman newspaper and shared some good news. His tumor had shrunk by about 1/3. 1/3! That's huge when you're talking about something as scary as cancer. Plus, his blood work was looking promising too. It felt like a little glimmer of hope. Like maybe, just maybe, we'd see him back on stage again with his guitar slung over his shoulder, singing, Should have been a cowboy. Like he hadn't missed a beat. Didn't it make you want to believe it too? But you know how life can be. Stomach cancer isn't easy. It's a beast. And even though he was fighting like hell, he didn't sugarcoat the reality either. By September 2023, just a few months before he passed away, he gave a really raw, real description of how it felt. He said it was like a little bit of a roller coaster. Good days, bad days, ups and downs. And isn't that just the most honest way to put it? It wasn't all bad, but it wasn't all good either. And he didn't hide that. He let people see the real, gritty truth of what it's like to live with something like that. And maybe that's why his fans loved him even more in the end. He didn't pretend to be invincible. He didn't act like a superhero. He was just a guy, a strong, stubborn, incredible guy who fought with everything he had while still trying to protect the people he loved. He didn't owe the public anything, but he still chose to share just enough to let people feel connected. He gave people a way to support him without turning his battle into some big public spectacle. In the end, he lived for about 2 years after that first scary diagnosis, and he kept getting treatments, kept pushing forward, kept holding on to hope. Can you imagine the strength it takes to do that? To face something so huge and terrifying and still find the will to keep going day after day? Toby Keith wasn't just a country music star. He was a fighter, a family man, a guy who loved his fans but loved his privacy even more. His announcement in 2022 didn't just confirm what a lot of people had already been whispering about. It changed the way we all saw him. It turned mystery and speculation into real, informed, heartfelt support. And honestly, isn't that what he deserved all along? He deserved to be seen for the strength, courage, and heart he carried through the toughest battle of his life. Tricia Lucus steps into the spotlight. Tricia Lucus, who, for the longest time, kind of lived quietly in the background, while her husband, the legendary Toby Keith, stood in the spotlight, suddenly found herself stepping into that very same spotlight. But not because she wanted the fame or the attention. No, it was because life threw something so heavy and heartbreaking their way that staying silent just wasn't an option anymore. You know how sometimes life just forces you to find a strength you didn't even know you had? That's exactly what happened with Trisha. For decades, Trisha had been the quiet force behind Toby's crazy, successful career. You know, the one cheering the loudest from behind the curtains while everyone else just saw the star on stage. She was always right there, but never really there in the public eye, you know what I mean? But as Toby's health started to go downhill, something shifted. It was like she knew that now, more than ever, he needed her not just at home, but out there with him too. And so, when they showed up together at the People's Choice Country Awards on September 28, 2023, it wasn't just another red carpet moment. It was something way deeper. Toby sang, "Don't Let the Old Man In" that night. And, let me tell you, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And Trisha? The cameras caught her, and you could just see it all. The love, the heartbreak, and the pride just pouring out of her eyes. Isn't it crazy how one glance at someone's face can tell you more than 1,000 words ever could? That night was even more special because Toby received the Country Music Icon Award, a massive, well-deserved recognition of his incredible career. And Trisha, who never really did the whole public appearance thing, was right there, front and center, standing tall beside him, even though you could tell it was tearing her up inside. It was like their way of quietly saying to the world, yes, things are tough, but look at everything he's achieved. Look at everything we built together. And it wasn't just that one night either. A few months before, back in August, Trisha had also been there again, quietly, when their whole family appeared on NBC's special Toby Keith, American Icon. Now, if you watched it, you know, it was emotional. Their kids, the whole family, they shed so many tears talking about Toby's impact, not just as a musician, but as a father, a husband, and a human being. And Trisha? She stayed mostly silent during that special, just listening, letting the love for her husband be spoken through others. Doesn't that just break your heart a little in the most beautiful way? Sometimes the deepest emotions don't need a big speech, you know? But here's what's even more touching. Even as all this was happening, Trisha wasn't just sitting still. Behind the scenes, she was grinding, working with the Toby Keith Foundation, where she was the vice president. And if that's not strength, I don't know what is. The foundation, which focused on helping kids with cancer, took on an even deeper, almost sacred meaning after Toby's own diagnosis. Even while her world was falling apart, she stayed committed, working for something bigger than herself. Isn't it amazing how love can drive someone to keep going, even when their heart is literally breaking? And then, after the unthinkable happened, when Toby passed away on February 5th, 2024, that's when Trisha truly found her voice in a way she probably never imagined she would have to. She spoke publicly, and not in a polished, rehearsed way. No, she stood there, raw, real, and heartbreaking, and said, "This is actually the first time I've been able to talk." Oh my gosh, can you even imagine how hard that must have been? Her son, Stephen, stood beside her, giving her the strength she needed in that impossible moment. When Trisha spoke about Toby, she wasn't trying to craft some perfect image or paint him like some flawless hero. She just told the truth, the kind of truth that makes you love someone even more. She talked about how Toby wasn't chasing fame or applause. He was just doing what he loved and what he believed in. Whether it was writing songs, performing, or working through the foundation, it was always about passion and purpose for him. And honestly, isn't that the kind of legacy we all hope to leave behind someday? And in maybe the most touching full-circle moment of all, Trisha brought up that final performance at the People's Choice Country Awards, the one where she stood by his side, tears shining in her eyes. She reminded everyone that that night, that performance, wasn't just another award show moment. It was Toby's goodbye, wrapped in strength, music, and love. She shared little personal details too, calling him Pop, the name their grandkids used, and you could just feel how much she adored him, how much she missed him. Doesn't it just hit you right in the heart when you hear those small personal things? And then she said something that just stays with you. She said, "The kids, our family, and all our friends are all brokenhearted that he's not here to accept this." It wasn't just a passing comment. It was the raw, aching truth of what it feels like to lose someone so deeply loved. Through all of it, through the silence, the quiet appearances, the foundation work, and finally finding her voice after his death, Tricia Lucus showed the world a different kind of strength. The kind of strength that isn't loud or flashy. The kind of strength that's built over almost 40 years of love, loyalty, partnership, and quiet, unwavering support. Toby Keith fans, you're about to get the answers you've been waiting for, and maybe a few you didn't even see coming. His wife has finally stepped into the spotlight to confirm what's real and what's pure fiction. But was it better left unsaid? Or is this the kind of honesty that'll make you love Toby even more? Either way, don't blink. because some of the most powerful parts of her story are tucked away right at the end. So sit back, relax, and trust me, you'll be glad you stayed for the whole thing. The Hall of Fame speech that said it all. It's October 2024, and the air is already heavy with emotion at the Country Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony. You could practically feel it, you know? Everyone's buzzing, wondering how it was going to go, especially since Tricia Lucus, yes, Trisha, was stepping up to the podium. Now, if you know anything about her, you know she's not exactly the one who's usually grabbing the mic. She's always been more like the quiet rock standing just behind Toby Keith, cheering him on from the sidelines. So when that soft blue light hit her and her son, Steven Koval, as they made their way to the stage, you could just tell this was about to be one of those moments. The kind that sticks with you forever. I mean, how could it not be? At first, you could see she was nervous. Who wouldn't be? Seriously, standing there in front of a room full of country music royalty, fans, friends, and family, knowing everyone was hanging on to her every word. It's enough to make anyone's knees buckle. But then, something shifted. It's like she found this well of strength inside her that even she didn't know she had. And before you knew it, this woman, who had rarely spoken in public, delivered this stunning 16-minute speech that had everyone hanging on every syllable. Can you imagine that? 16 whole minutes, pouring her heart out, steady voice and all. And let me tell you, she didn't just stand there and list achievements or rattle off stats about Toby's career. Nope. She spoke straight from the heart. She talked about who Toby was, deep down. She said, he didn't care what anybody said. He was a patriot. He loved his country. Toby loved hard, and he lived big. And oh my gosh, you could feel the room swell with pride and sadness at the same time. It's like, don't you just love when someone reminds you that the people we look up to were real people too? Not just stars or headlines, real people with messy, beautiful, passionate lives. But you want to know the part that completely wrecked everybody? Trisha shared this story about how random fans would come up to her, recognize her, and just cry. Like they'd shake her hand and say, "You're Toby's wife, aren't you?" And when she'd say, "Yes, I am," they'd respond with, "I miss him every day." And right there, in the middle of life happening, they'd both just break down crying together. Can you even imagine? Two strangers, bonded by missing the same person. It was one of those moments where you realize that grief isn't just something private. It's something that connects us all in the most unexpectedly tender ways. And she didn't stop there. She painted this picture of Toby, not just as the superstar we all saw, but as the man behind the scenes, the loving husband, the proud dad, the doting pop-pop to his grandkids, the brother, the loyal friend. She said, he was masterful at everything he did. And you could just tell how much she meant it. I mean, isn't it something when the person who knew someone the most sees them as even more than we ever did? That's when you know the public figure and the private man were the real deal. Then came this breathtaking musical moment. Eric Church came out with just his acoustic guitar and sang "Don't Let the Old Man In." And oh my word, it was like the whole room stopped breathing. You know that kind of silence where you can hear people trying not to sob? Yeah, it was like that. That song, which already hit hard because Toby wrote it about facing mortality, just took on a whole new level. It wasn't just a song anymore. It was a goodbye letter in melody form. Doesn't music just do that sometimes? Hit you right in the soul when you least expect it? And you know how people had been whispering for months? speculating about Toby's health and what he was going through? Tricia didn't shy away from that either. She brought it up herself. She also cleared up another big question that had been on people's minds: whether Toby's work with his beloved OK Kids Chorale would continue. You could hear the pride and determination in her voice when she promised that she and the kids would carry that torch. Isn't that just the kind of legacy you hope to leave behind? Not just the music, not just the fame, but the kind of good that keeps on going, even after you're gone. And the timing of it all, man, it was so bittersweet. Toby had been elected into the Hall of Fame just before he passed away, but he never got to hear the news. Sarah Traherne from the Country Music Association even shared how her heart just sank, knowing they had missed the chance to tell him. Like, can you even imagine achieving one of the highest honors of your life, but never getting to celebrate it? But Tricia, bless her heart, closed it all out perfectly. She thanked everyone for honoring Toby. And then, in this moment that had everyone laughing through their tears, she said, "He didn't get the chance to hear the news that he had been inducted. But I have a feeling in his words he might have thought, I should have been." And if you knew anything about Toby Keith, you know that was so him. Confident, a little cheeky, but so full of heart. By the end of it all, this woman, who once stayed so quietly in the background, had become the voice of everything Toby stood for. She didn't just speak about him, she made you feel like he was still right there in the room with all of us. Isn't that what love does, though? Keeps someone alive long after they're gone, through stories and songs and shared tears. Honestly, it wasn't just an induction speech. It was a love letter, a tribute, a promise, all wrapped into one. And you know what? I don't think there was a single soul in that room, or watching from home, who didn't feel a little closer to Toby Keith that night, thanks to Trisha's beautiful, brave words. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.